together. Get your spirit, heart, intentions, and thoughts together. Joe Macauley.
Joe Macauley!
Thank you, brother. Thank you. I got to get my shit together. And maybe you do too. What? Oh, come on, I'm not cussing at you. This isn't some weird version of tough love. Let me explain. This is an acronym that I came up with about 3 years ago. It stands for Spirit, Heart, Intentions, and Thoughts. I'm going to break down what all of this means, but if you've ever had a time in your life where you were doing all the work, trying to grow, trying to get better, but you just felt stuck, then by the end of this talk, you're going to understand why. I'm going to give you some personal experiences from my own life and my own interpretations. And at the end, I'm inviting you to participate in a brief Q&A session. So prepare for that. Now let's jump into this. We all have an idea for what we want our lives to look like. Call it a life blueprint. And when you take a look at your life blueprint and you compare it to your life conditions, if things match up, then it all looks good and we feel good. But here's what happened to me. At some point in my 30s, I took an honest look at my life conditions, my income, my relationships, my health, and it was way off. In other words, my blueprint said life should look like this, but my conditions were way over here. If I could just close that gap, then I wouldn't feel stuck. It's probably just a lack of effort. I just need more motivation, more discipline, more hustle, less procrastination, a better morning routine. Maybe I just need another seminar. It was never a knowledge issue. I knew what I needed to do, and I was hooked on all the books on how to do it. And they all said one thing: find a mentor. So I found a guy, his name is Brian Clemmer. Brian's wrote books, he runs a leadership development company, and he used to always say, if how-tos were enough, we would all be skinny, rich, and happy. All the information's out there. So if it's not information, it's not more work, it's not more effort, what is it that drives our results? It's our intentions. Our deepest, truest intentions. But those intentions are tied to our thoughts. And our thoughts and intentions are driven by the heart, and it all comes from the spirit. Toastmasters and guests, today I'm going to show you how these 4 elements create the pillars that elevate the results in your life. I invite you to take note on times where I'm being confusing, maybe when something resonates with you, even times where you disagree. These are all elements that can generate for a valuable Q&A session at the end for everybody. Now let's start with the S for spirit. How many of you in here are working on a goal or you're trying to level up in your life? Anybody chasing goals? These are my people. You guys are all my people, so we're probably similar. I say things like, I just got to put in more effort, make some adjustments. This time it's going to be different. And then life happens, and I end up right back in the same place that I started. What the heck is wrong with me? Why can't I just get this right? Am I just a broken person? I keep trying to figure it out. I thought if I could control my external conditions, it would give me a sense of control in my life. So I would focus on doing more work, making better decisions, and it all made sense, but it wasn't working. I would chase after results and achievements, and all the wins that people saw on the outside still felt empty on the inside. I was treating my life like some vehicle I could just drive harder until the engine blew up. Like I was so focused on the direction that I never thought about the power source that was driving it. That power source is the spirit. The spirit is our baseline. It holds everything we think is true about ourselves, about our past, about the world around us. Everything flows from that baseline. Even though I would say, I'm a spiritual person or I believe in God, I wasn't working on actual spiritual formation. I was still harboring anger and frustration, still believing God didn't make me good enough, still responding in ways I didn't want to the last time I did. Different events in life made me go deeper with my spirituality, and that felt good. But the deeper I went, the more I uncovered something uncomfortable. I was treating my spirituality like a transaction. Like if I do this, then I get that. Or if I go to church and I say my prayers, then God will bless me with an easy and perfect life, and my life just kind of stayed the same. Until I was at church one Sunday and my buddy Chris asked me, "Are you just checking the box with your spirituality?" Whoa. But the thing is, he was right. I was so focused on spiritual practice that I didn't even really think of spiritual formation and actual healing. For me, that spiritual formation took place as I got closer with my relationship to Jesus Christ. My beliefs started shifting, my interpretations started shifting, my responses started shifting. Spiritual formation is not about fixing an old version. It's about accepting and embracing something completely new. When the root changes, everything that's growing from it changes, not perfectly or in some magic moment, but consistently over time. Now, speaking of the H for heart, let's move into that. When I was growing up, I had this crazy neighbor named Jimmy. And Jimmy used to get so mad every day because his apple tree would never grow cherries. I know, it was weird. I never understood it. It never made sense to me because even as a child, I could understand that the root of an apple tree will only produce apples, Jimmy. In the same way, the spirit is the root. The heart is the fruit that comes out of it. It shapes how we interpret emotions, how we treat people, what we expect from them. Back in the day, I used to always say, I just keep a small circle of friends. But the reality was my heart didn't know how to foster healthy relationships. I would say that good friends were hard to find or that my family was just a bunch of crazy people. But what it really was is when I didn't live up to expectations, I couldn't just move on. I internalized that. My heart thought that meant something was wrong with me. And instead of dealing with that, I would just withdraw. I thought I was choosing the most productive path, but it was just the most protective path, my heart responding to what my spirit said was true. I thought I was making conscious choices, but they were just trauma responses. Anybody know about trauma responses in here? That's crazy, right? Some people withdraw. Some people take and still expect more. Some people give everything and lose themselves in the process. Different behaviors and flavors, but the same deal. The heart, the state of the spirit shapes what comes out of the heart. When my spirit is angry and resentful, then my heart becomes hardened and selfish. When my spirit is grateful, then my heart moves to reflect that. So now we've talked about the spirit and the heart. Let's add in the I and the T for intentions and thoughts. The spirit holds everything that we think is true. The heart makes that truth feel like it's real. That becomes what we believe, and it drives our thoughts and our true intentions. Your true intentions come down to this. You do what you do because of what you think about you. You do what you do because of what you think about you. I'm telling you, my intention is to grow. My intention is to chase purpose. But I think I'm not good enough and I need validation. Plus, if I fail, then they won't love me anymore. So my true intention is not to chase after growth and purpose. My true intention is to chase after validation, to avoid failure. No wonder my blueprint was way over there. I had conflicting intentions, and no matter how hard I tried, my true intentions would win every time. How? Because my thoughts justified everything I was already doing. Where do our thoughts even come from? Could you possibly know your next thought? Let's do an exercise real quick. I'm not going to make you close your eyes or anything like that. But just ask yourself. Don't say it out loud. Ask yourself in your head, who am I? Now, some of you are going to start hearing a response coming back. Did anybody start hearing an answer in their own head? Yeah, that's crazy, right? So who's asking the question and who's answering the question? And if we don't know who is who, could our thoughts deceive us? And if you were being deceived, how would you know? If it was obvious, it wouldn't be called deception. Maybe you're living something that isn't true, but here's the good news. You are not your thoughts. We are the observer of thoughts. When you don't observe your thoughts, we just take them in and nothing changes. I couldn't think my way into change because my thoughts are exactly what was keeping me the same. So when you observe your thoughts, are they helping you change or are they helping you stay the same? Now, we just ran through a little short version of this. I could spend an entire day with you breaking down this concept. But we're going to transition into the Q&A session in just a moment. So if you've got some questions, get those prepared and be ready for that. But I'll say this. These 4 pillars are what the results on your life stand on and control how high your results elevate. Now, I don't expect anybody to just believe me because I said it was true. In fact, don't believe me. Don't believe anything that I just said. But test it on your own. See what happens. Test it for 30 days. Focus on your relationship with the Spirit, express your heart, find your true intentions, and observe your thoughts every day for 30 days. See what happens. Now, if anybody wants to get a more bird's eye view of this, come and talk to me after the meeting. I can show you where your pillars stand right now and maybe what areas to focus your life around. I've developed a report around all of that. So talk to me after the meeting, free for all my members in here. And so now, I'd like to continue this discussion here, and we'll open up the conversation now for anybody who's got any questions out there. Do we have any questions anywhere? Johnny Dre. Johnny Dre.
I run a tight ship and I'm really busy. How do I start to be more mindful about my thoughts throughout the day when I've got so many other things to focus on?
That's a very good question, sir. Nice question. How do you, when you're very busy, so when you're really busy, how do you monitor your thoughts and observe your thoughts throughout the day? Is that?
How do I do a 30-day personal experiment when I've got 3,000 days of work that I need to do in 30 days? Like, what's the most effective way to do this?
If it's based around the thoughts, that question is, and that has an easy answer: turn off the TV, turn off the news. Turn off news radio, turn off talk radio, turn off everything. Avoid your scrolling on YouTube, really monitor your doom scrolling, but monitor the content that you're taking in. So in this case, and in a lot of people's lives, maybe it's not so much of something that you need to do more. To Johnny's point, we all have a lot that we're trying to do. So working on these 4 pillars seems like it's just more work thrown on top of that. But a lot of times it comes down to eliminating other things. And right now, a lot of us are inundated with our thoughts. We don't even know the thoughts that we're taking in and what we're considering to be the truth. So maybe for you, it might come down to limiting the content that you're taking in. I'm a strong proponent in getting rid of all the TVs in your house. The TV just is nothing but nonsense. The news will fill your thoughts with negativity and make you start acting out some of those negative thoughts. And trust me, if something that bad happens in the world, somebody will come tell you about it. Somebody you love will come tell you. So I hope I answered that question. Thank you for that question, Johnny. Thank you. Adrian, do you have a question?
Yeah, so in order for me, instead of focusing too much on the direction I want to go in life and focus more on my power source, I'm not a super spiritual and big believer in all the religious stuff. I'm more of like energy and power. Like, how do I focus on what's my power source? Like, where does it come from? How do I know what my true intention in life is if I'm a little bit confused over those?
Another awesome question. I think the question I can rephrase basically is, how do you find your spiritual baseline?
Yeah.
How do you find where you direct your spirit in? And there's a couple different ways that can go. As a Christian, of course, I'm going to tell you to go and discover Jesus Christ. Jesus loves you, and it's more about a relationship with Christ versus a bunch of spiritual practices and rules. And I think that is the foundation of forming your spirit, is to understand that it's not about a set of rules or practices that you would want to follow. It's about really understanding what drives your spirit and getting a relationship with that. I believe that we're all spiritual beings having a human experience. And because of that spiritual nature, we will be drawn into worshiping something. If it's not God, it will be something else. Money, power, respect, sex, drugs, all the things that we've seen take people down can become sources of worship for people. So it's really about discovering what you're always, whatever you worship is going to drive you towards the highest version of that thing, whatever it is. So you have to determine what your highest version is and what you're looking for, and try to get deeper with your relationship with your spiritual nature.
Okay.
Thank you for the question. Thank you. Any other questions, please? Oh, you have a question here, yes. We'll work
Sure.
over.
Thank you. And I completely agree with your first part, which is the spirit being the foundation, the 4 pillars that you mentioned. For me, the interpretation of spirit is not more on the spiritual side, but it's about the feelings that we have day in and day out. Like, to give you an example, today I go to the office, my spirit is high on energy. I feel motivated, I feel innovative, and it's like, today's the day I'm going to bring up a change. That's my spirit today. But I go to the office, and then my manager comes in, and there is an unfortunate news, we are losing a team member. Then I get a call from another manager who is blasting with complaints. So my spirit, which was north, suddenly goes down south. Do you have any practical suggestions? How do we change that spirit in the moment?
Mm-hmm.
Because my heart is there, my intentions are right. But my spirit, which was great,
Yeah.
suddenly dropped because of
Great
external factors.
question. So I believe that the spirit is actually the baseline that stores everything that we believe is true. So in situations where one day things are going well and we're very excited about things, then it's easy to find that spiritual good feeling. I describe that more in the realm of the heart and within our thoughts. So the heart being the feelings that we get from our spirit, and the thoughts being what we think about. So if one day is going good and the next day goes bad, whatever we believe is going to kind of drive our emotions, which then drives our intentions and drives our heart state and the way that we feel throughout the day. So for me, when my spirit was in a worse off place, my interpretations of how this manager handled the meeting, how this coworker responded to my question, they were way different than my responses after getting deeper in with my spirit and understanding what the spirit actually says is true about not only myself but the world around us. Thank you for that question. That was a beautiful question. And I would like to move on to another question, but we're actually running slow on time. I appreciate the participation in this, and I'll just thank you guys for your participation. Thank you for the questions. Thanks for being such a great listening audience. And I will finish with this. One of my favorite things in the world are massive skyscrapers. Just standing at the bottom and looking up blows my mind. Like, how is this even possible? And about 10 years ago, I was able to go see the Taipei 101 in Taiwan. For those who don't know, this building has 101 floors. It's a beautiful emerald green color, and it looks like a bunch of Chinese takeout boxes stacked on each other. At one point in time, it was the tallest building in the world. I used to go to the base of the building and just look up, fascinated. It made me feel so tiny. But at the same time, I was incredibly inspired by how us as humans are able to build to such great heights. What's most impressive about that building, though, is that it was designed to withstand both earthquakes and typhoons, what we call hurricanes. It's one of the only massive buildings in the world that has to deal with both of those elements. Now, here's my point. You can build your life higher than the strength of your pillars will support, but what happens when the storm comes and tries to blow everything away? What happens when your entire world starts shaking and everything turns into chaos? When one pillar is so weak that an entire floor collapses, that the entire building collapses? Build your pillars strong enough to support the level that you're trying to elevate your life. Every day, I gotta get my spirit, heart, intentions, and thoughts together. And that's why at the beginning I said, I gotta get my you guys can fill in the rest. But maybe you do too. back to you, Toastmaster.
Great.
Thank you.